Climbers, there's about $4 billion of black box money, of black account money in all of the streaming services. That's royalty money that they can't pay out because they don't know where to send it. How much of that is yours? Is your admin in order? We're bringing the expert on today, and that's exactly what we're going to talk about. You asked for this, now you're going to get it. Well, welcome to the C.L.I.M.B. This is a show dedicated to helping singers, songwriters, and indie artists like you create leverage in the music business. C.L.I.M.B. Creating leverage in the music business. So simple. It's so simple. That's what it's about, guys. You got to prove your worth. You got to prove your art has value. You also got to prove that you know what the heck you're doing. You got to be an entrepreneur. You got to hustle. You got to do it yourself, but you don't need anybody's permission. And that's why we called it the Climb, guys. Excuse me. I'm choking on myself. That's a Baxter nym that was put together by my good friend and co-host, Mr. Brent Baxter. Brent's an award-winning hit songwriter with cuts by Alan Jackson, Randy Travis, Lady A, Joe Nichols, and more. Got a couple number ones in Southern Gospel in the last few years. Had a recent top 10 over in Australia, down under, mate. So he's still making miracles happen. And most importantly, Brent helps songwriters like you turn pro by revealing how you write like a pro, do business like a pro, and then on the regular, he introduces you to the pros so you can create a relationship and climb up that ladder. You can find Brent at songwritingpro.com.
And I would like to introduce you to my co-host, Johnny Dwinell. Johnny owns Daredevil Production. They're breaking artists digitally by identifying new fans through data. Yeah, it's complicated, but thankfully he's smart. So if you're an artist looking to increase your streams, blow up your video views, sell more live show tickets, and get discovered by new fans, TV, and music industry pros, then Daredevil Production can help. Daredevil has worked with multi-platinum artists like Colin Ray, Tracy Lawrence, Ty Herndon, and Andy Griggs, just to name a few. You can find Johnny at daredevilproduction.com. That is production, singular, no S. There's no S because there is no other. Johnny D.
Woo, boy, how much money do you think that our Climber listenership has in those black box accounts, bro?
Oh, I'd say it's at least 8 billion of that 4 billion.
Yes.
Solely for the climbers.
Well, guys, that's what we're going to get into today. You all talked about this. We kind of teased about making it happen on podcast, and then there was a lot of comments in the Climb community. And this whole thing kind of started with me, and we're going to get into this when we introduce our guests, but it just started with me working with some of our artists, and I saw a video of the cat who founded TuneCore. And he was at some kind of song conference. He's since sold TuneCore, and he was just on a rant, like legitimate. This guy's an advocate for artists and writers, okay? And he was pissed off because of how friggin' difficult that the streaming service industry has made it for artists to collect their money. And it's sophisticated, right? But it's not rocket science. So we're going to uncover that today. Before we do that, let's get in, take care of a little business.
Yes.
So join the Climb community if you haven't done so already. It's at facebook.com/groups/the Climb community. This is a community of singers, songwriters, indie artists, indie musicians. It's very active, you guys. There's a lot going on. Lots of co-writes have happened out of that have turned into single song contracts and sync money, stuff like that. We've got people asking marketing questions, sharing stuff that they did that worked. This is a great place to be. The feed is for everybody. So if you've got something that's valuable, like news, humor, whatever, that goes in the feed. If it's all about you, it doesn't go in the feed, but we do want to hear about you. So every week there's posts for New Music Monday. There's Wednesday Heights. There's, the gig alert on Thursday. And you post all your stuff as comments in those, and you'll be a good citizen of the Climb community. If you're not, and you put your own stuff in the feed, if you try to sell us like friggin' carpet shampoo or, any crap that people are trying to sell in there, you will be roadhouse the hell out. And by the way, did you see? I can't remember who was it that commented. Like somebody posted a sales post in the feed.
Yeah, it was like house cleaning, carpet cleaning.
Yeah, first comment was a Giphy of Roadhouse getting
Patrick Swayze in the rain. I was like, thank you.
and then they were promptly out of there. But
they were.
wins because we like to share those, Brent.
That's right. So every Wednesday we have the new Heights post where we encourage you to share your wins with us so we can celebrate with you. So a few of these, Brian Mullen says got to do a background vocal on an upcoming Annie Bander release. Super excited. I got on the track. So congrats, Brian.
Good job,
Let's see.
Brent.
Yes, Michael Roth says a song I co-wrote with Harry Wolf. I got an honorable mention in American Songwriter. So I guess their lyric,
Oh,
the
good.
monthly lyric thing, I'm guessing is what that is. So that's awesome.
That's heavy,
Okay.
man.
Yes. So Chris, Jess St. Chris, maybe. So Jess, sorry if I'm mispronouncing your last name, says wrote 8 new songs yesterday, and I think 2 might be very viable.
Dang.
Uh, Jess, you keep that up, we're gonna have to start calling you Bill O'Hanlon.
Yeah, that's right.
But good job, Jess. So those are a few of them. There are others, but we want you to come in, share your wins with us. It's a great chance to meet other writers, see what other people are up to, and start building relationships. So because as my coffee mug says, write, record, access, and pitch. And that's part of the access part. Build your network to help
There
you
you
write,
go.
record, and pitch.
Make sure you follow or subscribe to the podcast wherever you consume your podcast. We are in the middle of it, but slowly migrating over to YouTube as well. So if you want to see how horrible we look while we do this podcast, that's where you're going to
Yes,
see.
back when we didn't really think we were going to do that video,
And
I'm
we were wrong with
scared.
that.
I'm
And then
scared.
the biggest thing, guys, is tell a friend about it. They're, you're getting value out of this. You're spending this much time with us every week. It's for a reason. And tell somebody else, turn them on to it. Let them know. If it comes from you, it's 100% true. If it comes from us, it's 50% true, right?
That's right.
But without further ado, I should say, let's introduce our guest here, who's somebody I'm proud to say and honored to say is a very dear friend of mine. Uh, and has now becoming an admin expert on his own right, and is a hell of a songwriter who co-wrote some of my favorite country songs on one of my favorite country records because it tinges to the country rock, southern rock kind of a thing too. And I'm an Allman Brothers guy, and I love that. But please welcome to the show for the second time. We've had him way back when, Mr. Randy Barber from Bar Frog Music. Hey, Randy.
Hey,
Hey
Randy.
guys, thanks for having me.
Yes,
You're welcome.
sir. Thanks for being here again.
Yeah. And thanks for
Absolutely.
coming on and sharing all this knowledge, y'all. So I told you I saw this video with this guy from TuneCore, and we had started working with, a lot of indie artists this summer in particular, where I have a much bigger role in these artists' careers than I've had in the past. And I'm curious about, well, it's complicated. Are we getting all the money? And Randy and I got into this conversation. Now, Randy uh, co-wrote a bunch of songs on a huge indie record from Eric Lee Bedingfield called "This Life Ain't for Everybody" is the name of the album. That came out in 2012 or 2011.
12.
2012, and it was he got the Indie Artist Breakout Award. They had the most spins on secondary radio of any artist that year. And one of the songs on their song called, well, there's 2 songs on there that were really big. One was "More Than One Year at a Time." A second was "The Gospel According to Jones," which featured George Jones and one of his last vocal performances ever, I believe. And you've gotten millions of streams from that, and so you started digging down on your own stuff. Okay, I just kind of want to set this up before we take the leash off of Randy and let him go. Uh, to find out, like, how do we, what's happening? How do we get the money? And you've uncovered a lot of stuff that's really amazing that I think climbers want to hear. And one more thing to set this up right. We've talked about this before, guys, but here's what the deal is. I think everybody that listens to the climb is probably savvy enough to understand publishing to a degree and a PRO, right?
Mhm.
So get your money from a PRO, and a lot of people who are not savvy, they don't understand that the PRO, whether you have a publishing company or not, that the money that comes into a PRO is split into 2 buckets: a publisher share and the writer's share.
Mhm.
It's 50-50. And whether you have a publishing company that gets a publisher share or whether you're self published, they split the money and put that up into 2 buckets, whether you need it or not. So if you generate, $100 in revenue from a song on publishing, $50 goes into the writer's bucket, which you're going to see. but the other $50 goes into a publisher's bucket. And if there is no admin attached to that bucket, then they don't pay that money out. It's sitting there waiting for somebody to claim it, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I think most climbers understand that you have to have a publishing company set up at your PRO if you're self-published, so that you get 100% of the revenue that your publishing is generating.
Yeah,
So
basically, you should get two checks if you're self-published from your
yeah,
PRO. You should get your
exactly.
publisher check, and you should get your writer check.
Exactly. Okay. So I think most people probably get that, right? But here's the deal with streaming services, when the streaming started happening, who do you think they called? These are tech people, right? That created this, these are Pandora's tech people, right? Daniel Ek from Spotify, tech guy. These are not music industry people. Who do you think they talked to figure out how to set up all the admin and everything on streaming?
Sure,
The
the
friggin'
PROs.
PROs, right?
Yeah.
So you have what's different. Okay, what's different about streaming is, and a lot of people don't know this about American terrestrial radio, but back when the labels decided to embrace radio back in the early 30s, and radio became an industry that started to make money, there's a backdoor deal made with Congress that allowed American radio stations only to pay out the copyright royalty for spins. They don't pay out the performance royalty for spins.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're an artist that has a number one hit on P1 terrestrial radio and it's a cover song, you don't get any money because you didn't write the song on
Right.
American radio, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but that's not the case everywhere else in the world. In Europe, European artists get paid for the copyright and they also get paid for the performance. And because of that backdoor deal in America, Europe just as an FU to that whole thing said, well, we're going to be reciprocal on that. So there are no American artists that make money on the performance in Europe, but European artists do because that's what happens in America. They don't get paid on
Mm-hmm.
the performance; they only get paid on the copyright. The reason I'm telling you this is because all the streaming services have to pay both. They have to pay the copyright and royalty, and they got to pay the performance royalty. So there's a lot of buckets that you have to get into. I'm going to unleash Randy on this here, but that's the deal. The same with the PROs, the streaming services separate all of this revenue into these different buckets. And of course, all of these different buckets exist in America, in Canada, in the United Kingdom, in Ireland, in France, in Brazil, and all the places where you're streaming. And so this is a lot of admin that happens. And what's really cool here, what you guys are going to get turned on to right now, is that if you're a big enough fish with enough cuts and enough money rolling in, like Mr. Brent Baxter here
Huh?
or Mr. Randy
Mm.
Barber, um, you have a publishing company that will do your admin,
Yep.
right? And Brent, you pay a company to do your admin, and the price on that is
A percentage of what they collect.
yeah, in
So yeah, I use
perpetuity.
Blue Water Music, and so whatever they deal with all the license. This is why I'm not very educated on this, which is one reason I'm glad Randy's here, because I don't touch it. Which honestly, I don't want to. I'm gonna go write a song, and I'm gonna let Blue
Yeah,
Water Music do what they do because that's what they do, and they're better than me at it. Y'all go find the money everywhere and just send me a check minus your percentage, and I'm happy because
good for you. And
it's more
also,
expensive for me to do it myself. You know what I'm saying?
that's right. And to be clear, though, this service at Blue Water provides far more than just the admin for you. I mean, they're getting you into writing rooms.
Well, actually,
They're
for them, they're just for this particular deal, they're just doing the admin. So they do licensing, they do copyright stuff. So I don't have to send off my copyright forms. They do register with the PRO. They, if somebody wants to use it for sync or whatever they call Blue Water, if on my self-published stuff, not counting stuff I have in various publishing deals. So they handle that stuff. So they don't do any creative stuff for me. I basically email them going, hey, got a cut on so and so. Let me loop y'all in. Y'all go make money and send me some.
go make
So
it
they
happen.
handle
Okay.
licensing, all that stuff. So that's how that
So
works, which is different than like a traditional publishing deal, which would be like they would do all that stuff as well, plus creative services like
that's
song
creative.
plugging and room building and that kind of stuff. So this is like pure admin deal.
Gotcha. Now, here's the thing for up and coming indie artists and indie songwriters, you're not going to have enough gas in the tank to be able to get a contract with somebody like Blue Water. So
Right.
it's really
The
important
juice
that you
isn't
do.
worth their squeeze because it's the same amount of work for them to register a song around the world, whether it's your own vanity little project that's going to get 3 streams in Ireland or whether it's a Garth
Yeah.
cut.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's the same
So
work for them.
that's why Randy's on here, because Randy's gonna go over how to do this, yourself, and also, man, at the end of this all, I'm just gonna set this up, you guys, and I think this is invaluable. And frankly, I've had several conversations with Randy since he started doing this, and I don't understand how the hell he's doing it for this price, but he is, and he's going to offer this service for you at a flat rate with no percentage on the back end, and help you get set up with all this stuff and teach you how to keep it current for like a ridiculously low price. Okay. So with that, Randy Barber, talk to us about your experience here with this, because you've started to uncover money for yourself. And what was interesting was, like, when Randy went down this rabbit hole for his own publishing and started to uncover like how much money was still there that he had in these black box accounts. Well, we've got a lot of friends that are, mid-level artists that are, we're talking millions of streams, who are like, wait, how does that work? Like, they didn't understand either. And
Mm-hmm.
so it just became very clear to us that this is so sort of opaque. It's not very clear to everybody. And there's so many people that have money right now. So if you got money right now in streams right now, you need to listen to the rest of this podcast. But if you're just starting out and you're getting going, man, get your shit together and make sure that all these ducks are in a row so that every penny that you earn is getting back to you, because it's not going to happen on its own. So Randy, take it from here, buddy.
Well, thanks, Johnny, for setting that up. Let me start by talking about the Music Modernization Act. Back in 2018, this was signed into law. Basically, our government decided that it wasn't fair that we had these streaming services that were not paying a blank license for our intellectual product. And you can thank Mr. Donald Trump for signing this into law. I think it was like October 2018. But like anything that happens with our government, it's slow. And
Yeah.
it didn't take effect until January 1 of 2021. What they did is they set up a nonprofit organization to collect and pay out these royalties, the mechanical royalties. Now, Johnny talked about the PROs. I know everybody who comes to Nashville or who's a songwriter thinks, okay, all I got to do to get my money is sign up with BMI, ASCAP, CSAC, whoever, and they're going to take care of me. Wrong. Let me tell you, they are not. They are not necessarily your friend here, but they're doing their job. All right. The PRO, by definition, is a performance rights organization, and they're collecting your performance royalties. There are 2 different kinds of royalties: performance royalties, which includes your radio spins. It's going to include television. It's going to include live performances. Those are performance royalties, and that's pretty easy to understand. And when you get your statement from BMI, it's going to have where it was, it's going to have information about those royalties. Um, but there is a whole nother type of royalty called a mechanical royalty. In the past, mechanical royalties were only the physical copies of the album or CD or record, um, and they were paid to you directly from the record label
Mm-hmm.
for the most part. Um, and if you had a song on a record, let's say a Garth Brooks record, and it wasn't a single, it could still pay a lot because he sold a bunch of records.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, well, when by setting up the Music Modernization Act, what they said was streaming is a mechanical royalty, and so they are the streaming services pay a what's called a blanket fee. They just have a based on how much volume they're doing. They pay a fee to the writers, um, and they're going to pay you per stream. But how much they pay you is based on some of their market share, how many of their subscribers are paid subscribers as opposed to free subscribers. So the rate changes, and
So it's
every
kind of
month.
a weird hybrid between mechanical and a performance. It's a mechanical, but it pays kind of like a performance in a way. Because that's kind of how
Yeah,
performances are with PROs. It kind of depends on market share, time of day, different stuff. On not all spins are created equal.
exactly, not all streams are created equal. Exactly, same thing, but they
And
can.
I'm sorry, let me interrupt you and just point out that one of the things that Randy's talking about here is the streaming traffic generates revenue, but also don't forget that there is subscriber revenue.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, I don't know what it's at now, but the last time I checked, Spotify, for instance, has, I think it's like 110 million paid subscribers. So, y'all, that's 1.1 billion, right? Like a month, $10 times, yeah, that's $1.1 billion a month in cash that they get just for subscribing. And then how do they deal? How do they divide that
Giving.
up?
Yeah.
That's what Randy's talking about here. So go ahead, Randy. Sorry.
Um, Now, I thought I'm with CSAC. I'm a CSAC writer, and I thought, okay, CSAC is my friend. They should tell me everything I need to know to get me paid. Well, not so much, because those black box royalties that are collected that don't get paid out because they don't know who to send it to. Well, guess what happens? There's $4 billion sitting there in a bank account, probably several bank accounts, that's drawing interest. So nobody wants to tell you how to do this because these companies, as long as you don't know, if you submit the right information and you go through down the rabbit hole with it, they'll pay you. They don't have any, they have, it's the law. However, if you don't, they're going to sit there and get fat off of the
The interest.
interest on this $4 billion. Well, CSAC, which where I am, and they've been great with me, been fair with me. Um, they own the Harry Fox Agency, which when this new music license collective, that's the place that the government set up to collect your mechanical royalties. That's one of them, but that's the main place here in the United States. They did not have a database of music, so they did a contract with Harry Fox Agency to share their database. Well, CSAC owns Harry Fox. You would think when this all came to light that, okay, Harry Fox is in cahoots with the music licensing collective. You would think they would go to their writers and say, hey guys, you need to make sure you got everything updated on you as a publisher with Harry Fox because this is how you're going to get paid.
You're saying CSAC would go to CSAC writers, and you'd
Yeah.
think they take care of their own. Yeah.
You would think they would share the information, but no,
Yeah.
it's something I had to dig in and find myself. Um,
Hey, Randy, let me interject for two things. Number one, what we're describing here, guys, is very simple. There are two music businesses in the world, one for the
Mm-hmm.
informed and one for the uninformed, and both are mostly legal. But it's up to you to be informed, which is what the purpose of this is. And number two, Randy, I think it's important to say too. I just want to interject and say that those black box accounts that we're talking about, there's no statute of limitations on that. You don't have a time frame to pull your head out of your ass and go get your money. They can't spend it, and it goes, all the way back to when the streaming services started. So if you have money there, no, it's still there. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and it's worth digging into this. Go ahead, Randy. Sorry.
from what I understand, streaming really, what as far back as they will go, is 2008.
Okay.
And that's really, for all intents and purposes, that's really when streaming started
Yeah.
its journey. And so if you have royalties sitting out there, you can collect back royalties all the way to 2008. So that was great for me to know, because I had most of my activity. It started in 2012,
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
and then it ran through the heaviest use of what we had initially was through about 2019. And so that was all before the Music Licensing Collective. Um, Now, one of the things you got to understand with your mechanical royalties, when you have performance royalties, they are split. Johnny was explaining this earlier. They are split between the writer and the publisher. So there's two checks when if you're a published writer at BMI, you get a check as your own publisher if you're self-published, and you get a check as a writer. Now, with your mechanical royalties, they don't pay the writer, they are paid to the publisher.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are self administered, if you're self published, you have to do this, because this is how you're going to get paid.
Hmm.
It's very important. Um, because they're not going to just pay you your writer stuff. You have to have a publishing company. So guys, if you don't have a publishing company set up and you're a writer who's getting cuts, getting streams, getting whatever, uh, stop. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200.
Because you
Go set
can't collect $200.
You go and set up a publishing company at BMI ASCAP. Now, I think BMI is going to charge you $150 to do it. I don't know what ASCAP is. I don't remember what it was for me to set mine up at CSAC, but it wasn't much. Um, but that's important. Now, when the government stepped in and said that, okay, these streaming services have to pay royalties. They set up here in the United States. They set up the Music Licensing Collective, the MLC,
Mm-hmm.
um, and it's very important to set that up. For as an artist, as a publisher, songwriter. Um, this is crucial, but it's only a piece of where your money is. They've hidden your money in different buckets, like Johnny was talking about, and there's different places you're going to have to go to collect some of these monies. There's some others, Sound Exchange is one. They collect a certain type of royalties. That if you're like me, um, and you have songs that are streaming, you probably, if it's got any traction at all, you're probably getting some streams in Canada. And
Mm-hmm.
Canada and the US here, it's a total different thing. So there's the Canadian Musical Reproduction Rights Agency, CMRRA, that you um, have to set up with. Um, if you're getting streams in other countries, um, you've got to really investigate that, because you may have to go to a CMO, or a collective management organization, in that country and sign up. Some of them have reciprocal agreements with the US, but not all of them. So you have to do a little research. There's nothing
Define
difficult about
reciprocal meaning that what the reciprocal with the MLC or with the PRO or
with the MLC.
okay.
Some of them, they'll tell you, if you talk to the MLC, they'll tell you that they don't pay any foreign um, royalties
Yeah.
off of
Mm-hmm.
It's for America only. Right.
right. So
And Harry Fox, same thing.
yes. Now, um, most people like me, I know most of my usage comes in comes in Canada and the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
But if you've got something like Brent got just had a big hit in Australia,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure what it is for Australia. I'd have to do some digging. I don't know if you would have to go set up with a CMO in Australia and have an account there. I don't know if it's going to be reciprocal, but you have to find these things out
Mm-hmm.
um, in order to do that. Now I'll tell you.
Oh, I was going to say real quick, the MLC, if people are interested in checking that out, since we just talked about that, it's the MLC, so Mechanical Licensing Collective, themlc.com is where you can go to their website and do some digging into that.
Now the it's not hard. It's not difficult. If I can figure it out, you can figure it out. However, um, it there's more to it than just going in and signing up. And there's other steps. Because they use Harry Fox's database. Um, there's things where you have to become a publisher with Harry Fox. You have to set up your Canadian rights, your sound exchange, and this process. It's not like you sign up and 5 minutes later you're collecting royalties. There's a whole process where you go in, you set up an account. They have to approve your account. Then you have to go in and register your songs, claim your songs, and that can take up to 60 days to claim a song. Once it's registered, for them to approve it into your portfolio can take up to 60 days. I can tell you from experience, when I set my MLC account up, and I started mine in November,
Mm-hmm.
and I got my first check in April. All right. And I was Johnny on the spot with it. I did
Mm-hmm.
it as soon as something came up for me to do, like as soon as they approved my account, I was in there taking the next steps, because it's not hard and it's not time consuming, because each step is not going to take you a lot of time unless you have a massive back catalog. All
Mm-hmm.
right. Um, but it's one thing at a time, and you're waiting on that one thing before you can do the next one. So
Gotcha.
that's kind of what makes it a little more complicated than just, oh, I'm going to go to the MLC and sign up and be
Mm-hmm.
done. It's not quite that simple. There's nothing, if you've been in the music business very long, you like I know that there's nothing simple about this business.
All
They
right.
don't make it easy. They do that on purpose.
All right.
Yeah.
Uh, but a way to kind of gatekeep the industry. Now, I will tell you, I have one song in particular that we'll talk about.
So
It's called More Than 1 Year at a Time.
Mm-hmm.
This song is the gift that keeps on giving for me. Um, we wrote this song and released it with Eric Lee Bedingfield. I wrote it with Eric, and I own the publishing on my share. We did this in 2012, and never put it out to radio, because there's in the chorus there's a line about being hopped up on the cocaine. And today that would fit just fine in a lot of places, but in 2012 that was a little more taboo.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fantastic song, but I think, and it's done really well for us, but it's been re-recorded by other artists, namely a artist by the name of Jacob Bryant, who's done extremely well, an indie artist, who's done really well. A Texas artist by the name of Creed Fisher also cut it. We just had a cut, but it didn't make the record for a major label artist.
Mm-hmm.
And this song, I can't see all of the streams because I'm not the artist on it. So
Mm-hmm.
all what I'm having to go off of is what I can see on the artist's front page of Spotify. And for Jacob Bryant, More Than 1 Year is in his top 5. So you can see the number of streams. So if you go to his page right now, Jacob Bryant on Spotify, it's 8,350,000 streams roughly. I know based on that, in the first 3 months I've been set up with MLC, and I don't think I've gotten all of the back on it, but I've already received $2,400 worth of payment in the first 3 months.
And I want to jump in on this. So this is a conversation we were having before we pressed record here, you guys. Um, the statements that he gets when he gets the check shows you what streaming services paid out. And we know, and I know this from analytics with all the artists that I work with on the streaming, that Spotify accounts for a very solid average of 75 to 85% of all the streaming traffic. And most of the money that Randy's gotten so far on more than 1 year at a time is, I think, Randy, correct me if I'm misstating this, but you said most of it was from Apple and from Pandora. So the Spotify money hadn't even come in yet, right? So I feel like that's, and we don't know because it's going back right to 2012. There's no way to understand the protocol of how it's not like they just release the money and it goes to you. It can come in chunks for people that have back catalogs and stuff like that.
They may pay you
But,
just a little at a time, or they may pay you for more than 1 year at a time.
oh, I heard.
Oh, been sitting on that one since the intro.
And to put a little context on the lyric that you mentioned, this song is so cool because it's about meeting. It's about like an outlaw artist, which is really what the brand of Eric Lee Bedingfield was, meeting the ghost of Waylon Jennings. And so Waylon's kind of cluing him in, man. I've been hopped up on the cocaine, shooting whiskey, feeling no pain, and need a handful of pills to get back down. Like it's just it's a song. If you haven't heard it, you guys, you got to go hear it because it's amazing. It's one of my favorite songs, and I'm not just kissing his ass, Randy. Like it's in my playlist.
One of the things, like I said, I know me personally, I've gotten about $2,400 back from the MLC. Most of that came the first month, and then I'm getting about $100 a month these last 2 months, but I think those are current streams. I don't think it's going backwards and picking much up right for these last 2 months. I could be wrong because there's no way of knowing based on what I've seen. Now I'm sure as I get to this more, I'll be able to interpret and read these statements better. Like Johnny was saying, my statements right now, probably 40% of what I'm earning is Apple. And about 30% is Pandora and 30% Spotify. And if Spotify truly is, the lion's share of the streaming, then I think there's probably more there.
I know it.
To me, the big journey for me was okay. I don't have a publisher anymore. I've had some publishing deals in the past, but it's on me and it's on my shoulders to go make sure I get paid what I'm owed. And so what I wanted to be was a self-administered publisher. Like Brent's lucky with his publishing deal. He's fortunate because he has enough heat that they'd be interested in having him as a writer.
Yeah, their percentage of my stuff is worth the work.
Yeah, the juice is worth the squeeze. The effort they have to put in it, they get enough out of it. For some of us, at times, mine has been. At times, it hasn't been. And right now, it's probably not worth. I don't know that a publishing company would pick me up and say, "Yeah, we'll handle your admin for you." And now that I know how to do it and how simple it is, I wouldn't want to give that money away, because that's money that that's mine. And so my journey was to become fully self-administered. And so, kind of what I have started doing for some of my friends and some of the other artists that I work with is I'm helping them to become self-administered, self-contained. Because I believe, and I know you guys have talked about this idea. I think that the new artist in this music business is going to be self-contained.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
They don't need a label. They don't need a publisher. You can do it yourself. You can be a self-administered publisher. You can be a self-contained artist and own your own and not be indebted to a record label or to a publisher.
Mhm.
Um, and so that's my journey is to become self administered, which I am now, and to help other people find that. I've got some friends that um, when I told them about this, they're like, "Are you kidding me? I got more money out there."
Yeah.
You know, I've helped a couple of them go back and get some of their money.
Mhm.
We're at the stages we're just starting to see money come in. I had a friend that I'll give him a shout out at Chief Greenbud.
Yeah.
Uh,
Mhm.
he was who some of you guys may know him, may not. He has some really great marijuana songs, and but he had a great following, and he's like, "Dude, I have no idea." And so we went back and we've started getting money for him.
This
You
kid
know,
has
and
over 20 million streams, y'all. Like,
yeah,
you
So
know,
he's got
as
some
an art.
money.
Yeah.
yeah. So it's going to take some time to get all of that, and I don't know exactly what all's going to be there. I don't know enough about the system yet to say, okay, if you have 20 million streams, this is what you're going to get.
Mhm.
Um, but I know that he's got some money sitting out there, and I've started some others for other people. Actually, every time I talk to new people about it, they're like, I say, "Are you doing this?" They're like, "No, I need to." And I start to explain. I try to explain to them how to do it. They're like, "Man, would you do that for me? Can I
Mhm.
just pay you to do it?" And so I've been doing that, and actually getting more of that than I actually anticipated. And
Huh.
it's becoming a big part of what I do every day
That's
is
cool.
help people take control of their own publishing.
Help people
Um,
create leverage in the music business. One of the things you talk about being a self-administered really artist or writer, artist writer, is if something blows up, you're prepared to catch that money. You don't have to have that fear of loss going, uh-oh, I'm the dog that caught the car. I know I when I wrote Monday Morning Church, nobody wanted it, right? So I have the publishing on that. And I was able, because I was working for Blue Water in the admin side of it. I was able to issue my own license to, I guess it was Sony was the parent company of Arista. And I was able to do some of those first steps myself until that I got on the other side of the table and brought Blue Water in to handle some other stuff. But I knew enough to be self-administered at the beginning, which like, whew, like, okay, here's a license. Here's this other stuff so I can start, so you can record the song. I can issue label copy. I can do these things. So I'm not going to blow up the cut and make it not happen because I don't know what to do on my end. But then it also gave me a little bit of space to go, okay, where's the best deal for me and for this song? Because I didn't have to run out and go, well, someone please collect this money for me. I'll take a bad deal because a bad deal is better than no money coming in. Right. So as an artist, if you like, hey, stuff's popping off for me, it's okay, man. I'm collecting my money. So what are you going to do for me? It changes
Yeah.
the leverage.
And let me add on to that. Okay. Because there's, God, they make it so confusing, and I understand the rage that that guy who started TuneCore had. Um, because I've having these conversations with my artists when we're talking about admin, right? Which I have Randy doing all my artist admin. Okay. When the industry standard and deals vary um, from here and there, and of course, the more money you make, right, the more leverage you have to negotiate a lower percentage. But the deals for admin in the music industry, including your DIY aggregate distribution companies like TuneCore, like CD Baby, okay, like DistroKid. Like this includes them too, because their advertising is confusing. I'm going to get into that in a second. But the industry wide solid average on that back end percentage is 20%. Okay. Now I'm having this conversation with one of my clients, and he's like, no, TuneCore's, is free. Right. I'm like, no, it's not like it's free to distribute as many songs as you want onto the platforms. But if you want admin, that's a different deal. And if you want admin and you look at the fine print, guess what? Right in there, 15 to 20%. So it's when you can do this, learn how to do this on your own, have this done for you on your own. Be what was the phrase that you used, the term you used, an
Self-administered.
independent self-administered songwriter. Brent, the one thing that you learned by doing this yourself with Monday Morning Church was what had to be done so that
Mm-hmm.
you can inspect what you expect, and you can
Mm-hmm.
look at it intelligently and know what's happening. I wish for every climber listening to my voice right now that you grow to be big enough to where it just is too cumbersome for you to be doing your own admin, and it pays for you to have an admin company to take the percentage,
Mm-hmm.
because it's worth it, you're going to spend way too much time doing the admin than you are writing songs, and that becomes a problem.
Right.
But until then, you want to be doing it yourself and learning how it's done so that you know what the hell is going on, and you can speak intelligently when it's time to negotiate
Mm-hmm.
for that other company. Would you say that makes sense, Randy?
Oh, absolutely. You don't know what you don't know. That's the old adage, right? With this, there's a lot of intricacies. I've given you some basics here, but as you get into it, you're going to find that there's things. Like for me, I had I knew I had a cut coming up on a song, and I was like, I'm not going to miss out on royalties on this because it was potentially going to be really nice because it was a major label deal. And so I had a friend. I'll give a shout out to Jack Key, formerly of Music Mill Publishing. He's retired now, but I reached out to him and I was like, "Hey, man, I don't know how to do this." And he's the one that started me. He's like, "I'm going to give you some basics, and then it's up to you to figure out the rest of it." And he's like, "If you got questions," and so he's been there for me. But he's retired. And understandably, when you're in your late 70s, you don't want to be having to hunt down royalties, and he's
Mm-hmm.
retired living his life. um, but to me, it has been a journey, but I have become self-administered with all of my publishing, and I think in for us to make sense as of the new music business, all of you on the climb, you need to be self-contained. Everybody thinks, but when I it's the Nashville's changed a lot. I've been in Nashville for 23 years, and in 23 years of this being in this business, um, it has changed. And what used to not be accessible, you had to have a major label to if you were ever going to break through as an artist.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's not true now.
Right.
That's absolutely not true. You look at some of the biggest artists that we have right now, that they've done it and then they went and found a record.
Cody Johnson sold out Energy Stadium in Houston, Texas, 75,000 seats as an independent artist.
Zach Bryan. I mean,
Yep.
that's another one. He's on top of the world right now, and he started independently.
Yep.
There,
Ranger
um,
Smith. Yep.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but being self-contained, I can't. That's the new method in this industry. And if you're dependent on a label or a publisher, um, they can keep you in the dark about things. Well, I don't want to have to learn about publishing or admin. I don't want to have to learn about that. Well, guess what? That's how you get taken advantage of, is because if you don't know, at least have a basic understanding of how it works,
Yep.
even if you go sign a publishing deal, they can still take advantage of you if you don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
But
Once
the
again, there's two businesses, one for the informed, one for the uninformed. And if you
Mm-hmm.
listen, if you talk to Cody Johnson, if you talk to Granger Smith, if you talk to Zach Bryan, to ask them, they've been turning down record deals for years because the first record deals you get are let's find out how stupid you are record deals.
Mhm.
And then they kept ratcheting it up and getting better and better and better. And then the ones that they said yes to, I know this to be true for Cody and for Granger Smith, was okay, let's do a JV. We're going to give you your own record label under our umbrella. You can use all our money, all our infrastructure, all of our relationships, and we'll split 50-50. Bam. You know what Aerosmith got when they renegotiated their deal at Columbia back to so Columbia could keep their publishing because it was before. This is right when Geffen signed a record deal with Geffen. This sounds confusing, but man, they were getting like the Aerosmiths of the world in the '80s and the Madonnas of the world, the big superstar artists, were getting 25% on their record.
Hmm.
The average points you get on your record as a brand new artist is like usually 7 to 9. 5 of which you're going to give away to your producer back in the day. So 50-50. This is a partnership, y'all. So this is
Mm-hmm.
what we mean by leverage. So I don't mean to interrupt you for that, but this is the you have to. Oprah says you got to sign your own checks. Ask her how she found that out. Right? Like,
Right.
wait, what's this $2,000 for? Oh, well, that's for the I'm going to help you out by putting this in my own pocket fund.
Yeah.
It's easy to lose track of that money, but when you sign your own checks, you don't. And this is what Randy's telling you right now, guys. Go ahead,
Mm-hmm.
Randy.
Well, I just think it's important if you're going to be in this industry to know a little bit about every
Yep.
component of it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way, because if you're going to be a self-contained artist and a self-contained publisher, you need to know so you don't get taken advantage of. But if you can do it yourself, which I know you can, because I did it myself, and if I can do it, so can you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, um, what?
And let me throw in else something else in there. So we just described to you like how those guys were turning down record deals because they're getting the crap record deals, but it's always not black and white either. Like you're going to get this shit deal or you're going to get a good one. But understanding how it works and having footing in that allows you to negotiate. And I'll give you a prime example. When my band first signed a booking deal that put us on tour for a full year, we signed it at 15%. And then when we all moved down to Florida and we were doing the whole Allman Brothers thing and all that, we got this opportunity to be put on tour again with another booking agency down there. Guess what they came at me with? A fair percentage of 15%. And they're acting great in their best interest. And I said, no, 10. And
Mm-hmm.
they said, okay. Just like that. Just because I knew better to ask and I could make the deal better. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Because I'd already been through it, man. I understood how it worked. And so it's not necessarily like you're going to get screwed over, but you can certainly, I mean, that extra 5% on the money that we were making every month that paid for a lot of crap, man. Let me tell you. That was a huge negotiation. That was not even a negotiation. It was, here's the deal. I want a different one. Okay, let's go. And that was it.
Wow.
It wasn't even a back and forth. It was like, this is what I want. And they said, okay. That's simple, Randy. So that's why it's good to know so you can negotiate the best deal for you.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I do, like I've done this for myself and for other artists, and I continue. I've got a whole list of them I'm going to be working on today when I get off of the phone here, get off of the call. Um, is I help other people go through this process because it is a time consuming process. And a lot of people don't have the patience. They may start it. Oh, I need to do, you're going to listen to this podcast and you're going
Mm-hmm.
to say, man, I'm going to go sign up for the MLC and I'm going to get this done. I'm going to be a self administered publisher. And you're going to get in there and then something's going to come up, and then you're going to have to a writing appointment, and then you're going to have to go to work, or
And
you're
you
going
have
to
to
have
wait for 2 weeks or 3 weeks for this thing to come back that you started before you can take the next step.
Yeah.
and so what I've started doing is helping people do it. And I go through the whole process for you, teach you, educate you how going forward, once you're set up, how to put new music on there, how to register your new stuff. And typically, what I have done um, is if someone has a huge backlog catalog, I always tell them, okay, this is going to take a lot more time. And we usually sit down and figure out how much work, and I give them a price to do it based on how much extra time. But what I've been doing, and where I have landed on this, is I'm doing it for $795 for the whole process. I'll do everything for you. I'll set all your accounts up, register all your music. But because I want to help you get leverage, I
Hmm.
want to help you because you're part of this community and part of this journey on with us. I'm I'm going to do it for everybody that's on the climb for $595.
Whew.
Um, so
Yo, that's a flat rate. That's a deal right there,
And
man.
you
it's
know,
teaching you how to fish. So with every new release, you know how to do it yourself. You don't have to keep calling Randy back.
Exactly.
it, um,
And straight up, first of all, Randy Barber, guys, I've worked like side by side with him for years now, and to say that I trust this man with everything is an understatement. I mean, he's
I
had
mean,
access to everything in my office. To all my this guy's a straight shooter, which is what I love about him and why we've had such a long business relationship and a good friendship. And also the we were just having a conversation about one of my artists that he's working with, and I'm asking him to really, hey man, can you help them with the future releases because we got a release schedule now. And he's like, man, I will if they want me to, but I'm just show them how to do it. Like once it's set up, once all these accounts are set up, and you set up shop and everything's connected, then the further administration, which is just plugging in all the new ISRC codes when your releases come out, he's going to show you how to do it. So it's this is this. I mean, that's an education, and you're going to pull out the cork on your back pay and get that money to start coming
mhm.
in. That's a deal, y'all. And thank you, Randy, very much
Yes,
for
that's awesome. Thank you very much.
honor to do that. And we weren't expecting that. And thank you very much for offering that. It's really sweet of you.
absolutely. I'd be happy to help anybody with it.
How do they get in touch with you if they want to do that?
Man, the best way right now is they can just send me an email. It's randy@barfrogmusic.com.
Yeah, BARFROG, bar frog, just like it sounds.
That's right. So y'all hop on that.
Yeah.
Hop to new heights. So we can go on
There you
forever with
go.
that.
Yes.
Well,
Man,
Randy,
that's
thank you so much
hey,
for
Randy, real quick. One thing I just want to make sure. So, like, say myself, say if I were just totally independent, didn't have somebody doing my admin for me, an artist, cuts a song, puts it out, whether indie, whether major label. Once they put it out, I don't have to rely on them to do other stuff for me to get paid. I can take the reins, make sure that me as my own publisher get stuff set up. I'm not relying on them. I'm relying on them to cut it because I'm not the artist and to put it out. But once that's done, this is all on me. I don't have to wait on them. I don't need their permission. This is not touching their money. It's not messing with them at all. It's just making sure I can get my revenue stream. Correct?
Absolutely. You won't. I mean, I'm friends with Jacob, fellow that cut more than 1 year at a time,
Mm-hmm.
and I can call him or his manager at any point and get information. But when I registered and I set up my publishing for that, I never had to contact them at all. All
Right.
the information was accessible to me, um, and so I don't need access to anyone else to take care of my own administration.
And that's a good thing.
what a great question that was, Brent. Yeah,
I'm
good
learning
deal.
this stuff anyway. I'm learning about this stuff myself.
Well, Randy, thank you for taking the time. Thank you for
Yeah,
the
man.
deal. Climbers, there you have it. It's Randy at Bar Frog Music. If you want to reach out to him with the deal to get all your admin set up. And if you have a back catalog, if you've got streams, I don't care if it's 20,000 streams, like you got money that's coming to
Hmm.
you that's in a black box account right now. And it belongs in your account, not in their account. And this is how you're going to do it. And I'll tell you what, it doesn't take a whole lot of streams to pay back the $795, much less now the $595 that he's offered for you guys. So I would hop on this thing and
Hmm.
bent on doing it yourself. God bless. There's CMOs in every country. You're going to have to go down that rabbit hole. It's going to take you time. But like Randy said, it's sophisticated and requires patience, but it's not rocket science, and it can be done. And you just want to make sure that you got your ducks in a row. And if you're an artist that's about to begin putting stuff out, or you've just started putting stuff out, this is the best investment you're going to make. Either whether you do it yourself and it's an investment in time, or whether it's in $595 and you pay Randy to do it for you. You need to make sure that all the money that your traffic generates comes into your account, plain and
Hmm.
simple, guys. This is being a student of the game. This is how you do it. And wow, I'm thinking about Kelly Shainfeld, my buddy, and when I first got Pro Tools, and all of a sudden now I could mix, right?
Hmm.
Because before
Theoretically.
mix in a studio, right? And so
Yeah.
it would be like, we're only mixing if we can get into a studio, and I don't own a whole facility. So when you get Pro Tools, you can mix in the box. And man, I paid him the bro rate to fly out to LA and mix stuff that I recorded with the specific intention of being like, hey, I'm going to be right up your keister asking you 1,000 questions.
Hmm.
Why did you do that? Why did that work? How come that does? So I could learn how to mix
Hmm.
myself, and what was required. And that's what Randy's really offering here too. I mean, it's like, hey, he's going to set this up for you, but he's going to show you how to do it. You're
Yeah.
going to get education, not just the service. And uh, like I said, you should be charging more for that, bro. I love you. I think you're crazy, but anyway, guys, so it's Randy at Bar Frog Music. If you want to reach out to him, make sure you tell him that you're from the Climb so that he knows and you get the discount. And that's what we're all about, guys, helping you
Hmm.
climb, getting every penny that's due you. I hope that I feel like we satisfied what everybody really wanted to hear
Hope so.
about. In this,
Yeah.
so this podcast exists because we want you to win, guys. So keep on climbing.
And we'll see you at the Hawk.
Ah!
We're going out.